A blockade, already leaking. An Iranian supertanker slips through the Strait of Hormuz, reaching port despite a US naval clampdown. Washington says trade is completely halted. Reality says not quite. So is the blockade working, or already being tested? Because in these waters, control is never absolute. A US-led maritime blockade aimed at isolating Iran is already facing questions over its effectiveness, after reports emerged that a sanctioned Iranian supertanker successfully reached port without obstruction. According to multiple accounts, a VLCC-class tanker capable of carrying up to 2 million barrels of crude transited the Strait of Hormuz and entered Iranian territorial waters before docking in the Imam Khomeini port. The development appears to directly challenge Washington's stated objective of halting maritime trade to and from Iran. The timing is significant. Just hours after the tanker's reported arrival, a senior CENTCOM commander said the United States had completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea.
A blockade of Iranian ports has been fully implemented as U.S. forces maintain maritime superiority in the Middle East. An estimated 90% of Iran's economy is fueled by international trade by sea. In less than 36 hours since the blockade was implemented, U.S. forces have completely halted economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea.
The contrast between that claim and events on the ground has raised fresh doubts about the scope and enforcement of the blockade. At the same time, US officials have pointed to enforcement actions already underway. According to the Wall Street Journal, American naval forces have intercepted at least 8 oil tankers since the blockade began. In each case, vessels were contacted via radio and instructed to turn back, with all complying without the need for boarding operations. US destroyers and P-8 maritime patrol aircraft have been deployed to monitor and interdict shipping lanes. However, the apparent success of at least one tanker in reaching Iranian waters suggests gaps remain. Analysts note that the Strait of Hormuz is a vast and heavily trafficked corridor, making a total shutdown operationally complex. Iran, for its part, appears to be adapting. Reports indicate Tehran is exploring the use of alternative ports beyond its southern coastline to bypass restrictions and maintain exports. There is also a broader strategic dimension. A Bloomberg report suggests the blockade may be aimed as much at pressuring China, a major buyer of Iranian oil, as it is at Tehran itself. Meanwhile, President Trump has struck an unexpectedly optimistic tone. In a social media post, he said the United States is permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz, suggesting that tensions may be easing through diplomatic channels.
China is very happy that I am permanently opening the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing it for them also, and the world. This situation will never happen again. They have agreed not to send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a big, fat hug when I get there in a few weeks.
For now, the picture remains mixed. While the US is demonstrating reach and deterrence, the blockade's ability to fully choke off Iranian oil flows is far from absolute. A US-sanctioned Chinese tanker has passed through the Strait of Hormuz despite an American naval blockade, becoming the first vessel to exit the Gulf since the chokepoint was sealed off. The Rich Starry, owned by Shanghai Zhuanrun Shipping Co., carried roughly 250,000 barrels of methanol loaded at the UAE's Hamraya port. The vessel, as well as its owner, is sanctioned by Washington for dealing with Iran. Shipping data from LSEG, Marine Traffic and KP Lair confirmed the transit. A second sanctioned tanker, the Merlikishan, has reportedly also entered the strait. The vessel, which has previously carried Russian and Iranian oil, is expected to load fuel oil in Iraq on April 16th. The breakthrough came just days after a very different picture emerged at the strait. On April 13th, two Chinese-linked tankers turned back within minutes of the US blockade, taking effect at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. One of them was the rich Starry itself. More than 15 US warships, including Aegis destroyers USS Frank E. Peterson and USS Michael Murphy, have been deployed to enforce the blockade. US President Donald Trump has warned that Iranian high-speed attack craft approaching the blockade zone would be destroyed. No armed clashes between US and Iranian forces have been reported so far, though international shipping companies have largely held back from moving through the strait since the military warning was issued. Tensions in the Gulf have sharply escalated as the United States moves to enforce a naval blockade targeting Iranian ports and maritime activity. US President Donald Trump issued a direct warning to Iranian naval assets, signaling a shift toward aggressive maritime enforcement.
Iran's navy is laying at the bottom of the sea, completely obliterated, 158 ships. What we have not hit are their small number of what they call fast attack ships, because we did not consider them much of a threat. Warning, if any of these ships come anywhere close to our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated, using the same system of kill that we use against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal. P.S. 98.2% of drugs coming into the U.S. by ocean or sea have stopped.
The blockade, announced by US Central Command, is set to target vessels entering or leaving Iranian ports, while allowing transit through the Strait of Hormuz to non-Iranian destinations. Iran has strongly rejected the move. In a statement broadcast on state television, Iran's military command warned that the blockade violates international law and risks wider escalation.
The restrictions imposed by criminal America on maritime navigation and transit in international waters are illegal and constitute an example of piracy.
Tehran further warned that if its ports are threatened, no port in the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea will be safe, signaling potential retaliation across regional maritime infrastructure. The blockade follows the collapse of US-Iran talks in Islamabad, brokered by Shehbaz Sharif, dashing hopes of a diplomatic off-ramp after weeks of war. Global reaction has been swift. China urged restraint, warning that disruption in the Strait of Hormuz, a key artery for global energy flows, could destabilize international markets. European allies have also distanced themselves. Spain's defense minister called the move senseless, while UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer confirmed Britain would not participate in the blockade. Meanwhile, oil markets reacted immediately, with Brent and WTI crude prices surging past $100 per barrel amid fears of prolonged supply disruption. With diplomacy stalled and naval forces now directly confronting each other in one of the world's most critical waterways, the Strait of Hormuz is once again at the center of a high-stakes geopolitical standoff, where even a minor miscalculation could trigger a far wider conflict.